o'clock. This is a regular meeting of Mills County Commissioners Court, Monday, June 27th. We are in session with the county judge, all four commissioners present. We have a legal quorum. Also present, the county clerk, the county treasurer, and the county attorney, as well as people in the courtroom. If everyone would join us, please, for the pledge and a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Williams, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you have granted us. Father, be with us as we do the business of Mills County. Father, guide us and direct us in all our actions. And Father, please bestow some rain upon our country. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The first item on the agenda, number 2, review and act on the minutes of June 13th. Has the court had the opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, are there any comments or corrections?
I don't have any. If there's no corrections, I move we approve them as presented.
We have a motion from Commissioner Guerin to approve the minutes of June 13th as presented. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Wright. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have approved the minutes. Next item on the agenda is audience with individuals. Our chief appraiser of Mills Central Appraisal District, Cody McCorn, has signed up to talk. We have the appraisal district on the budget, on the agenda. Ms. McCorn, would you like to speak now or when we get to the budget?
I'll wait.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, consider an act on approving accounts payable. These were distributed by the treasurer Friday. Any comments or questions?
Summer, the question I have looking at them was on page 6. I didn't know if you had any information on that. 1, 2, 3, 4th item down, badges.
How many is it?
You know how many that is, or?
I do not know how many right off the top of my head. I have to invoice my office that's Stephanie placed the order for these.
And then are these for jailers too, and or you don't know? I just thought that was a lot of money for badges, so.
I'll call that. I noticed they're not present. Nobody from law enforcement's present, no bailiff, and nobody's on Zoom, but I'll call out there, get some backup on this. Does it show whose badges are ordered?
No, it's not.
Okay. And circulated to the court? Are there other questions on accounts payable?
I just wonder how Mike got a bill. I went and got it.
Because I've been waiting on mine
I went out first and asked him to give me one.
and sat there and waited on it, huh?
Yeah, he wrote it out and had it. He missed 12,000 something, but it was. You got one. I got a bill.
I know
We've been
that.
hauling for several months now. And
He's been waiting for a bill and I've been waiting for a bill.
I have to go see him. That's what I do.
How many times you went and seen him?
Half a dozen.
You may have to ask Mike to go.
You might have met that's Mike to go get it.
Y'all have a load count, guys? Yeah. That's what I did too. I had a load count and everything went to him. He agreed that was the right price. So give me a bill. What was the price? Price per yard, $8.50. Yeah, I agree with that. We paid $7.50 last year and this year it's $8.50.
Yeah.
least that's why they charge precinct one, so.
Other,
Jed's the only one has a special, he gets discount.
Yeah.
So back to the badges.
yes,
Looks like we're buying some sort of mold. One at $350 and then 50 flexible metallic emblems, I guess, so that they can create their own badges, is my assumption.
How many
Five for the
badge-
sheriff, 5 for the chief deputy, and 40 for the.
how many badges total?
Sorry, 50,
50 badges, 50.
5 for the sheriff, 5 for the chief deputies, and 40 for deputies. That's spread over.
But it's a mold, Judge.
I don't understand.
They're gonna make their own, right?
This flexible metallic emblem. The one-time charge of $350 and paying $50 or 50 badges at $21 each.
Did the
And
other
I'm not
badge,
sure this hasn't been paid on their credit card or need to be on a credit card because they have QuickBooks invoice with it.
did their other badges go bad?
They don't wear out. Now, I guess you can lose them or break them.
That's all the information on that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the accounts payable except for the badges from the sheriff's department until we get further information.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Williams. Is there a second?
I'll second
Second from Commissioner Guerin. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
it.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've approved
Did
it.
you go?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought you did.
Yes, I
Okay.
Just checking.
You may raise my hand. So I need help.
Okay, consider an act on Mills Central Appraisal District budget. I've got a summary information in your package as well as the budget and the allocation. My summary is that the budget is a total of about 500,000 rounded. That's an increase of about 52,000 or 12% from the current budget. The key parts is it's got a 5% cost of living built into it and one additional FTE for a total of 5. And the way the rules work, and by the rules, I'm talking about it's state code appraisal district budget approved by the board of the appraisal district stands and is allocated back to the taxing entities proportional to the taxes that they assess through the district, unless, so there's no approval required by the taxing entities. However, if the majority of the taxing entities adopt a resolution opposing the budget, then the budget is not approved and the appraisal district has to create a different budget. So that's the legal background. Cody, you're here.
I'm here.
Let me turn it over to you.
Okay, well, via your email that you sent me, you said that Jason was gonna explain, but I'm here just to answer any questions again. And hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at the budget that we presented this year, and the corrections that they. Okay, the appraisal board actually voted to do a part-time employee,
Yeah.
so not a full-time employee. So that is gonna be one change. I may have.
Well, the number you sent us shows,
21,000.
21,000.
so that 21,000 deed technician collector, that's a part-time.
It's a part-time employee, so that's why there's no fringe benefits there, no social security, no insurance, no health insurance, no retirement for that person. So it's just gonna be a part-time employee for now. Hopefully, at some point, we'll be able to afford to move somebody in full-time to take over or help with that position.
So
So that's gonna be our main
to
interest.
give you a little background on this part-time employee, we wanted to, she requested a full-time because we were so backed up in the deeds category. Most of it has.
For the benefit of the court, can one or the other of y'all explain what the deed category is or what?
So what happens is whenever we have these process through the title companies, they come through the clerk's office and then we get a CD of deeds and we get them once a month right now. And right now, the number of increase between 2017 and then I did a 5-year span, kind of just so we would know, it's about 140% increase in the past 5 years on the number of deeds that are coming through our office. Back before we had a lot of the new subdivisions and a lot of the land breaking up, back in 2017, it was a landowner to landowner, or it would be split maybe 2 ways. But now with the number of subdivisions coming in, it's caused a major increase of deeds coming in because now you have one landowner that's splitting up into 85 properties.
Does the creation of the subdivision create deed activity, or is it when the individual lots are sold?
When they're sold, and they have been sold, and it is, they're selling left and right now. And there's not necessarily subdivisions that fall under that subdivision category for you guys, but it's just landowners that are now splitting their land into 20 different tracts, is what they're calling it. And so they still have road frontage, so they're not having to do the subdivision guidelines, but they're still selling that as different tracts. So we've had a huge influx of deeds right now, and we have one person that's trained to work them. So what we're trying to do is get a part-time employee to come in and kind of train under her and help her with the process, because not only does it increase the deeds, but it increases the ag applications, the wildlife applications, the mapping. Like, it's not just that one side of it, it's the entire office has now increased their production by 140%. So that's why we're in need of an additional employee to help out with.
And so the district has normally had 5 employees until about 5 or 6 years ago. And then it went down when we lost employees and lost Bo Wright, and we just haven't gotten back up to that.
But when the district had the 5 employees, wasn't it doing the field, local field appraisals itself?
Correct.
We were.
Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
then we outsourced that. We've always outsourced the technical appraising, right?
Well,
The
we-
industrial.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we were still doing it even for a while, even when she was still there, she was still doing a bunch of them. And now we're just straight, kind of like what we did with Goldsmith. It's cheaper on employee wise and all that other stuff to outsource it from the district. You're not paying all that other, you're just paying a set fee.
You're not paying education, we're not paying, so
Right.
these people are already educated.
Well, This is unrelated maybe to the appraisal district, but if you're seeing that volume of deed activity, that means, I guess, we're seeing it in the county, in the clerk's office. Would that be right?
We met in our budget meeting. I had my 5-year numbers as well to show our increase. And it has been, I didn't expect that conversation today, so I did not write
Yeah.
my numbers, but.
It's about 140% in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on this. I'm just
Yes, no,
saying
it
if,
was true.
if
That's-
you're seeing that increase, we're seeing it
Yes.
too.
We are seeing it.
And it's a little different because she
Not
just,
just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just.
It's a little different from what she does and then what she does. She has to do a full background check and all this other stuff.
Different
on every deed.
expectations, but we are still seeing the paperwork, and we
Right.
still have instrument numbers, and we still have verification process, and we still have LVAC process.
It's not the same process as what I was
It's
trying
not
to
the
say.
same process, but we are still seeing that increase in our office.
So, and that's the reason we went to a part-time to see if that would work, and then we'll go, and get that person trained and work into a full-time. We did, the board did, talk a lot, in closed session about certain things. And, this is, we cut a few things that was presented to us, and this is what we come and brought to the entities.
But what we have in the package is the final recommendation.
That
from
is the
board.
final recommendation, yes. Any questions?
Yeah, I've talked to Cody. Is this inevitably gonna put somebody back out in the field
Well,
checking?
they will be for the ag and wild. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what.
Yes.
That's what the new appraiser that we have in the office, she's in training. So she's been there 6 months, so in July, she can actually start her education. She's starting she'll be her level 2 by the end of this year, by the end of 22. So that once she gets registered, she can actually go in the field on her own and do the checks for the wildlife and ag. That's strictly all she's doing right now, because we have so many applications coming through right now.
But we didn't want her to take over and help with the deed technicians because
You got a different job.
everybody on this board, and I think the school boards too, wanted wildlife exemption looked at and, monitored a little bit better. So that's why. we went to
The
that.
agricultural exemption period.
Well,
As
yeah.
a whole, we're trying to, we're going out and checking every new application that comes through the office, where every 5 years, we just started implementing a 5-year check. So every 5 years, everybody's gonna be getting a new, application to update. So we're updating every 5 years, because we have a lot that haven't been updated since 1988. That we're finding. So things change. You may be raising sheep this year and cattle in 5 years. So we need to make sure that what we're checking is correct. That's what
But we talked the other day, these places that are being subdivided or subdivisions have 2 years.
correct. They have 2 idle years in a 7-year period.
And
But
so
they have
there-
to
some
make
of them
something
are
happen.
starting to rock and roll on that 2 years.
This is
And
their
nothing's
option.
not being accomplished on. So, I mean, I still contend, if we don't get something done there, we're not increasing the acreage in Mills County, we're just splitting it up.
That's what we're doing. Yes, but as far as
You're not increasing the value or
the marketable value will increase if there's no ag.
Yeah.
Well, the market value won't, tax value. We worked really hard, like this, me working with the board and the board themselves to cut back. We came in originally at 8.9% for the COLA, and then I did a survey that most districts are giving 7%, and then our board cut back that down to 5% just to save the entities money, and then we cut back quite a bit and had to raise some for just the postage expenses and the office supplies and the gas expense. But I mean, we're working really hard as a district to save for the entities right now. And we understand everybody's tight with their funds at the moment. I can also say that the building is paid in full and the truck is paid in full. So right now, our district is completely debt free. So we don't have any debt in our office at the moment.
Commissioner Williams, I think when I would look at it, I call it efficiency ratios, but it looks like the cost of operating the district, when you compare it to either the appraised value or the dollar amount of taxes collected, that we're spending more. So, I mean, was there any discussion of that? on the
Okay.
board?
We actually discovered that too in the office, and we went in and went into her computer and stuff. And so unlike regular in a business minded society, that your payments, your tax entity payments at the top, is that what you're asking about, is less than your say your personal salaries and costs there. And so you're spending more than you're making. But the way the tax budget works on this budget system, on this computer system that has been supplied to the entities or to the district, is that when you lower, because like when that was at 9% on salaries, that was what, 28% or something, and so we said, no, let's cut that to 7. When we cut it to 7,
They both.
they both moved. And you're going, why is the top number moving? Why is the payment moving? But that's the way this program
It's
works.
not, we're not based on the income we bring in. That all goes back, we're not an income producing at all. All the income that comes in from property owners and taxpayers goes straight out to the entities. So that's not, the entity payments is based on the budget, strictly on what the entities are paying into the budget. That's it. So
Yeah.
it changes both ways.
I mean,
And so none of the board members, Judge, like it. Michael Medina is gonna research it, and he's gonna try to find out if there's something that can be changed or do something different on that. Or if we have to stay with that same program and procedures and stuff.
What we can look at next year is do a better comparable is, looking at the increase of taxable dollars being brought in versus the budget. And we did not look at that this year.
Yeah.
We know it's increasing based on all the new wind farms and everything else coming into the.
But that is a good catch, Judge, because we noticed it too, and we were like,
okay.
how come we haven't noticed this before? But that's our bad on that. And so, and when we were meeting, this had to be turned into the entities the next day. So it's not, we didn't have a lot of leeway to do more research. on
Right,
this.
and there's some tight statutory timelines. I mean, the budget stands unless the majority of the entities resolve in opposition of it within 30 days of when it was presented. So I mean, the clock's ticking. The key on this, I think, for the court is this budget as it's prepared is a $148,579. So call it $150,000 cost to the county. That's the way it comes in. And will show up, whatever is done, then is a fixed line item in our budget. So that's the way that it works mechanically. Are there questions for either Commissioner Williams, who is the only board member present, or for Ms. McCorn, who's the chief appraiser?
I have no question.
Are we obligated to vote on this?
We are not obligated to approve it. If we're going to disapprove it, we have to do that.
I make a motion that we approve the Mill Central Appraisal District budget as presented.
I'll second that motion. So we have a motion and a second to approve the Mill Central Appraisal District budget as presented. Is there further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
That's fine.
Next item, EMS station. I've got, Jackie, if you could bring up some of the maps. We, after the last meeting, Guy Burns and Commissioner Guerin, and I believe Commissioner Parkin actually went on site and looked at how we might arrange what might be done. I believe, and Mr. Burns, if you would come up to the podium in case, because I may have a question, was a representative from Basic IDIQ, the TIPS vendor, was he present?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them.
But, okay, two of them. So just to refresh everybody, the proposal left the county with the obligation to do the site work. The recommendation when we had John Brown review the proposal, using his construction background, was that we really needed a lot of clarity on what the site work was. So we knew what we were buying into. And the green part, that's an aerial actually that's plagiarized from the appraisal district's map files. The green on the left, The far right-hand side of it is Old Pretty Road. At the front of that lot, you'd see the law enforcement center. Behind it, outlined in sort of a dark green, that's what is referred as fenced in as the impound yard. There's a little area that's marked near the bottom, which is the jail expansion, and there's a narrow alley behind the jail that's outside of the impound yard. That's a fenced in, that's an evacuation area. So the county owns basically the green stuff in the back in addition to this site. And we were looking at setting the property back there. Well, the on-site review was that there would be extensive site work if we're back in that grass because it's lower, it's marshy, and to build it up and level would be quite a bit. But that impound yard had compacted base that the county brought in when we originally built this about 2015 or 16. So that if the recommendation, and I think it was from Commissioner Guerin, was that if we could site this in the impound yard pad, there would be almost no additional material required. Still might need some labor and diesel to rearrange things, but the site's generally prepared. So an appraiser, the Commissioner Guerin, not appraiser, surveyor, has been arranged to come stake this, but it hasn't happened yet. So just for discussion, I wanted Mr. Burns and Jackie and I tried to take the footprint of the building, get it to scale, and place it a couple of places on the pad to see if it would fit and how much of the impound yard would be left. I've discussed this with the sheriff. He was very accommodating, does not need and has not used the extent of the impound yard. Currently, there are about 10 cars out there. That's about, it fluctuates a little bit, but that's about the usual. When cars are towed in after arrest, they often go to the wrecker company unless there's evidence to be searched or the vehicles are pending being seized. And then those are what ends up in this impound yard for a period of time. So you can see in that layout, there's a lot of impound yard space left, plenty of space to accommodate the cars. There's a trick in the coming out of the middle of the jail building and running back to the lower left-hand corner of the property is the main water sewer line. And the sheriff has warned us that the drainage problems that sort of start in the middle of that yard and run over toward Schuster's. And as you walk it on the ground, you can actually see it and see some of the washout on the Schuster's fence side of it.
You can actually see them.
Hmm?
You can see some of them.
Yeah, and it actually shows up on this map. Now, so that's one layout. The concept was to put the ambulance bay end of the building as close as possible to the road. It makes it quicker access. So I've talked this over with the sheriff. He suggested turning it a different way to get it even closer to the road. If you can show us that other slide, Jackie. There we go. That puts the ambulance end of it, and it fits up there near the existing turn-in into the impound yard. So that would be the quickest access for the ambulances to leave and get over to the highways. And again, you can see how much, we'd have to replace
Some fencing.
some barbed wire fencing for the impound yard. And we need to do the on-the-ground staking because this, again, is the scaling from Mr. Burns and I. So there could be a little bit of operator error here. But in either case, it looks like we have plenty of site. We have the we have open discussion and cooperation with law enforcement. It's county-owned property. And the next thing that'll happen is, and it may be this week, is the surveyor work to do the staking. And that is what I wanted. So I guess there's no action unless the court wants to take some. I wanted to communicate this to everybody, tell you what happened since last meeting, and get any input people may have. Guys, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Talking with the contractor, basic IDIQ. It's gonna take, once the decision's made by Commissioners Court to move ahead with this project, Mueller is gonna be the one supplying this building. And it's 12 to 15 weeks once they place the order before the building can be available to parts.
Now, but in that 10 or 15 weeks, we're left with the site work, the fences, whether or not we need to move the main utility line that serves the law enforcement center, and any drainage work we want to do. So it's not like if they could deliver it tomorrow, we could start on the building. We got a lot to do before they're ready to put in a slab.
How about the drainage out there on that main road and turn into the impound yard?
Yeah.
Would that be a problem, just add a more 10 horns?
It could be there unless we set that back in some and put a 10 horn probably going into the Bay Area, because there is a 10 horn before you go into the impound.
Yeah, I knew there was one.
So if I was gonna do it that direction, I'd set the building back in towards the impound yard, and then you might have to put 10 horns into the Bay Area. You know, the other way, this may possibly be, but the thing you got to think about too is your Bay Area. I know that one diagram showed all 3 bays with doors both sides. I personally wouldn't put but 1 bay with a drive-through, because those doors are not energy efficient. They leak. And I wouldn't have, or I personally wouldn't have all 3 bays that were drive-through. I'd just have 1 of them. But that's, you know, then that would be for a vaccination site or whatever.
Parking and stuff, we can make that, we can just put a culvert all the way down in front of it, not
Yeah,
just
you
one.
could, but
You see what I'm saying,
drainage
and
all the way.
make a solid front on it.
You
So nobody
could.
went off anything.
Well, there's plenty of room to move it back, you know, even 10 or 12 feet, put that 10 horn, put some parking out front.
I
the
think you're
head-in
gonna need some parking, yeah,
Yeah, I found.
yeah. And then you might want some parking in the back, so.
And it probably drops off that direction a little more. There would be some pad work to do
On that corner,
out there, but. that
Back
can be
in
done.
this area.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't you think, Jed?
Yeah.
It kind of rolls off of that area.
I think someday, I think that work better. But alternative this way, we don't have to worry as much about the pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
completely.
right. I'll try and move the mouse to show you where the main water line
Yeah, you
is
can kind
about
of see
there, and it sort of goes back to this corner down here. Oops.
That's sure.
Yeah, right like
About
that.
good ways out of that building.
You can see it between those 2 cars on the bottom.
Also, I said that at that location, we use scale generator
Yes.
to power it with, you know, in case of emergency. Won't be that far across, so I'd lay a big line, plug extension cord in or
What is that? Is that a main road there in front of it? Is it city street?
It's not a city street because the city hasn't adopted.
It was dedicated in the plat, and I think it's called Justice Drive. But if the city hasn't accepted it, I think it's one of these public roads and it's not a city road.
Right.
There is a sewer line there too.
Yes.
That's on the other side. Going, the sewer line goes from the Dollar General down to that pump station.
And I mean, the city would probably accept it into their road system if we met kind of like what we do in the subdivisions, but they want it paved and curved.
Well, if,
So,
I think unless they've changed their program, if we pave it, they'll adopt it.
right. But that's
We
what I'm
got to
saying.
pay the cost of the pavement.
I'll take that up with the city.
I'm pretty
just so
sure
we
that's the way,
understand.
that's the way they've done
approach.
city streets.
Okay.
And they will take it in and maintain it after that. But as far as the original paving, the county would have to pay for the paving cost.
Well, the good news of this project is it, of course, it's not done till it's done, but it looks like there's the grant money available to
Right.
fund it and then some. So having the paved road for the emergency
Yes, sir.
medical building,
Right.
EMS station, could fit within the grant and could get paid for by,
Right.
let's call it other people's money, and then
That'd
adopted to get out of the maintenance.
be a good way to do it. Opportune time to do it.
Do we want to make it a public road? People running up and down.
Well,
That's a question.
Well, it already is a public road that they can go up and down. It already is a public road. They can go up and down it at any time.
But a lot of people won't do it. They say it's dirt.
yeah.
They don't ride it.
Well, we do have, and we've had it in every ambulance station we've had, which I guess is 1.5. There's a certain amount of dropping. People, they get hurt and then they decide it's quicker to go there. So those people are probably, that's the only public that comes to it. And those will probably come regardless.
But if you're ever going to have a mass vaccination
Yeah.
or something like that, it would be better, but it'd be nice to have it paved.
True.
Well, we're a little bit away from that, but
Right.
I think the main thing is the site. I'm glad we got the input on the drainage and pulling it back some. The next steps will be, we'll make sure we have that discussion with the surveyor, if you would, Commissioner Guerin. And
They promised me they'd be here sometime this week.
yeah, but depending on what he's going to stake, if he's going to stake the actual site, would want to pull it back enough to have some tin horn and parking down that side of the street.
Much more sense doing it there than down below. Have to do all that. over.
Yeah,
Amen. Amen.
yeah, this was a good idea. Okay, that's all I've got on number 5. Thanks, Mr. Burns. Budget discussion. Next, we got a little PowerPoint here I want to go over with you. You can bring it up, please, Jackie. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I wanted to go over with the court. There's no approval required, but I'll try and read it a little bit. Some of the thought process, and there are some actions that will be happening. In looking at this, I'm looking at sort of an overall view of working for the county, and it's not just salary, it's salaries, benefit, and stability. You've heard me in at least 3 prior budget cycles adamantly opposing cost of living increases. This is the time to change that. Inflation is here again, hasn't necessarily been in the recent past. My view on it, and it just is that it affects all officials and employees, but it affects them more or less the same. I mean, we all buy our gas at the same places and grocery at the same places. I continue to not like across the board percentage increases because that would drive most of the increase in salary to the people with the most biggest salaries and the least to the people with the least salaries. And yet everybody is paying, $4.50 a gallon for gas. They don't charge me and Gerald any more than they charge Jackie. Working for Mills County in general is seen as desirable locally. And there's evidence of that, and that we have very few open positions. And when we do have them, they're filled fairly quickly. And I've also looked at, shifting gears slightly, elected official compensation in nearby counties, and everybody's going through this process. So what somebody did last year is no indication of what they're going to do in the coming year. But I've talked to several of the judges, so I have an idea of what their plans are. Now, plans and final action can be two different things. Let's change the slide. The general approach I'm trying to take in the preliminary budget. First of all, we, a couple of meetings ago, absorbed the increase in the group medical. The increased medical expenses are a component of inflation. But the county took care of that for its employees. The cost of that, if you spread it over our payroll, it's about 38 cents an hour. I've looked at, I'm sure y'all have too, a variety of inflation indicators. You can find numbers from 5-something% to 10-something%. You can actually find some at 3-point-something%. But they're all point toward inflation. There's no one definitive number. There's a pretty broad range. What I've done in the proposed budget was looked at the average hourly wages for our non-elected employees, tried to apply a percent to the average wages, not any one person's individual wage, and come up with a change in hourly rate. And then for elected officials, look at that hourly rate change, but look at the fact that it tended to be longer work weeks for elected officials, and it's an annual salary, and came up with a number of 2,625. Again, no magic to the number, but wanted to share the logic. Let's flip the slide, Jackie. This is something in the course of digging through things I came on from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is the official, the government financial tracking that basically talks about a slowing inflation rate. Like I was looking at numbers a month ago that were pointing toward 8 or 9%. And now you can see expectations of 5.9 down from 6.2, and broader base 5.5. The biggest increases may have been in the past, and things may be tailing off. The trick we face in budgeting is we're talking about it now on something that's going to go into effect in October and run for another 12 months after that. So we're aiming at a future date, a future situation. And honestly, I'll admit there's windage in it. You have to apply a lot of judgment. Let's flip the slide. So here's the numbers I'm working with now in the proposed budget to increase all the hourly rates for Mills County employees by $1.20 an hour. If you consider the fact that we just absorbed the increase in medical, that's an effective benefit to the employees of $1.58 an hour. To use $26.25 on elected officials, we continue the longevity plan. The projected pay, assuming no turnover between now and November, our payout's going to be $36,000 and change. That's up about $3,000 from a year ago, as people have built longevity. With taking the pay up $1.20 an hour and $26.25 for salaried. That moves the county payroll up $105,000. The total comp and benefits, there's FICA, there's retirement. It's $163,885 is the incremental cost to the county of doing $1.20 an hour, basically. And to put it in the view of tax rates, that's about 2.3 cents of our tax rate. And our tax rate, of course, it's unknown what it'll be this year. Last year, it was around 60 cents. Let's change the slide. Okay, elected officials. Let me share this one with you. We got a little different time period here to make all the calendar work. Elected officials receive notice of proposed salary, and it's got to happen by July 5th. So basically, this Friday or next Tuesday. And then there's a grievance period, then there's a publication period, then you got to do that so many days before you can start having hearings and approve things. So you can't even vote on this till all that's done. But if you take the 2625 against the salaries, I think I got my heading off.
And then
the column that says proposed, that's the 2021-22 set. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's the proposed salary. And that's after what we have to publish is the proposed salary, the amount of the increase, and other benefits and allowances. So here you have basically 2625 for everybody. You see where the salaries are, the other pay and allowances. This is other county pay and allowances. This is everything from longevity to cell phone allowances. There's no adjustment here for county paid vehicles, and there's no adjustment for state supplements. Those are the state supplements are informational. They're down in the footnotes. And then you see the total county paid. And the majority of the county elected officials are $48,000 to $49,000. The outliers, you see the tax assessor on the low end at 44 something, and the sheriff on the high end at 57.3.
with 62. Sheriff's at 62, not 57.
Okay, I'm reading them. Thank you. I was on the wrong line. Sheriff's at 62. The majority of us are in the 48, 49s. So
That's your longevity.
yes, it's longevity and some other things.
It's always
other stuff.
Yeah, there's a certificate payment.
$4,500 extra.
The longevity pay caps at 2,500. We have 3 or 4 employees and officials in the county that are at the full 2,500. The thing, I've had lots of thoughts on looking at this one, but you have to keep in mind that these are salaries for positions. You got to look past the individual and say, okay, if the judge quits, and we got him at 0. And I've heard Commissioner Wright raise this in the past. We got to have an approval there to pay the next guy. Well, that's true for the county attorney. It's true for the sheriff. It's true for the justice of peace, the treasurer, the clerk, for everybody. So that's the reason not to try and adjust the salaries not arbitrarily on a performance basis, because this is the amount you pay the next one too. Is there another slide, Jackson? Okay, so what happens? I wanted to get input. The next step in the budget process, and we don't want to do this needlessly, is there's a lot of calculations done in the treasurer's department for FICA and benefits on every employee and official in the county. That has to get calculated, rolled into the budget. I've high leveled it to come up with the total payroll cost on the change, but it's got to get done person by person and in the various cost centers. And it's no small task and not one we want to be doing multiple times. There'll be a formal notice to elected officials, needs to happen by July 5th to keep us on schedule. There needs to be a publication in the Eagle on or before July 27th. Meanwhile, we continue to work on the proposed budget, but it needs to get filed no later than July 29th. Then we have budget workshops with the court every Monday through August with a public hearing advertised at least 10 days in advance and tentatively August 22nd. That would put us in a position for a final vote by the end of August. And the vote would include a budget and a tax rate, which we have to set and turn in to the appraisal district in time to get the tax notices printed and out to the public. So there's a lot of moving parts here. But I wanted the court to know what was in the works. And I'd like to just throw it open for input discussion.
Always good to me. I don't have any. I'm pleased with it.
Yeah,
Looks reasonable, Judge.
keep moving forward. Let's see, that was just discussion, so there's no action. We're down to number 8, commissioners requesting reports. Commissioner Wright.
Precinct 1, sewer rock pressure. I don't know who wants it next. We've had it in a month.
Yeah, we can use it. Dale, you ready for
No, we got some other
Which
stuff.
I washed and cleaned up and ready to go.
I'm a couple weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks away before I need it, but I can use it if you just leave it at your yard.
Yeah, leave the yard and do a meeting with this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. We haul material on 505, 517, 512, 510, 100. We've laid all that material in. We've had to replace some road signs on 505 and 510. Some of my road construction signs have been bored. Rear road is still on 3 Mile Crossing on 315 is still closed. They're replacing the whole track right there.
Sorry, what was that?
315
Thank you.
and 3 Mile Crossing. 315.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Guerin.
it? We've been working on a brush cutter, Blue Bonnet's shipping in, components right now, mostly veins. Have been coming in 2 or 3 sets a day here last week. And, they've completed that work that we're gonna do on 332. So it's no detour around it now. They've got quite a bit of traffic out that part of that country. So if you're out that way, watch out for big stuff.
Well, I had a call from the mail carrier out there. That's at that.
You know what he did? They had barricades up, had a guy sitting there telling him where to go. He shot him.
Well,
He
he,
ended up in the ditch.
You said the military, you're talking about the post office.
Yeah.
that's who called me.
Okay.
And he asked me about 332. I told him that was called.
If he would have slowed down, they had it, all they had to do was take a right and the detour all the way past. He wouldn't slow down. He just parked on. What can you do?
Not finished.
He didn't go.
Get out of the way.
Did you talk to the postmaster's?
Yeah, I left a message for it. You know, if that wasn't our fault. It was, you know, if he would slow down about that long, And that guy was standing there to tell me. Yeah,
Like I say, he gave me a call about the deal.
saw his marriage out. I told that flagger, if they kept doing it, I'd bring the sledgehammer, they could at least mark them when they went by. It is against the law to go around a barricade.
What call me anything else they have said that?
Right, sir?
Anything else?
Disregarding the barricade.
Sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's against the law, to go around a road.
And when they borrow them,
Sir,
Mike, it's against the law too. They're not disregarding the barricade if they borrow the barricade.
yeah,
You locate.
And you can look at
sir.
Yeah,
You know, I've had people steal the barricade signs, that way it would be illegal when
that's right. Commissioner Parkman,
We're all in there on 529, and actually I call it 544, but it's Sherman Street, the main thoroughfare through Mullen that had washed out, trying to kind of clean that up, make it a little more accessible. We did blow a tire out Thursday on the truck and about killed all of us and took all in and try to get the thing off of Highway 84 and back down the dirt road so we could work on it. So kind of made for an interesting Thursday, and I think we weigh about 10 pounds less than we did Thursday. So it was hot. That's about all we got. We have, y'all talking about people, we have an awful lot of trouble with people even blading the roads, and I ain't throwing one company under the bus, but FedEx is ridiculous. I mean, they take the bar ditch going by a maintainer at 40, 50 miles an hour because you're in their way. And UPS is a little better, but we have individuals too. It took us, and I know that people don't think Mills County's changed much. It took us at least 30 minutes to get that truck across Highway 84 before we could get a break in traffic each direction long enough to get a truck back across 84.
Well, we had 60 cars when we was doing that project out there in 433, 60 cars when we got down that road.
So Mills County has changed, but that's all I've got.
You want that pulled out of your driveway
Yeah.
or Mary's Taco?
I was gone most of the week, but my road hands did quite a bit of work out on 433, replaced some horns and redid the back slopes on 433. They've also done some fence work a little bit that somebody tore up and they blamed it on the road. But while I was gone, they just went in and took care of it so that they didn't have to bother me. So I was appreciative the road hands just took an initiative there. Dale on 529 and County Road 529, that's Smoky Bend. That landowner on my end of 529, it has access to push that right away. And it's real tight right before we go into, anyway, so we're gonna be out that way. And so we may work on that intersection a little bit over 530, 529 and stuff. So it'll help both of us. So we're gonna probably do that this week. And co-op has been involved because it's got a huge fiber optic down that line. New landowner, 36 acres. So anyway, but that's all I have.
okay. All I have, I want to mention, after our last meeting, I sent the draft error correction resolution on the old EMS station to Hamilton Healthcare. They are having their council review it with regard to them doing something similar and a correction deed. So the other piece of the EMS station, which is getting the old one getting the sellable title on the old one, is in works, and it's right now in Hamilton's hands. There being no other business, I would entertain a motion.
So moved. That we close.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll say.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?